I think having a very clearly defined niche, even if it's broad like office, well, that's broad, but it's still a niche. It's clear.
Sure.
And so my clearly defined niche is healthcare. And I can tell you basically what I do, who I represent, how I represent them, and what my guideposts are.
Beyond the Blueprint podcast, we're back with episode 2 with Ann Spencer at Cushman Wakefield. We're going to get into her journey at Cushman Wakefield, her journey in healthcare, and her entrepreneurial journey as she continues to help women in the industry.
Okay, sounds great. Let's do it.
Let's talk about Cushman Wakefield. So
Okay.
we'll start there. Why healthcare? Why is that your niche, and what do you enjoy about it?
That's a good question. So let's see, why healthcare? Well, I mean, honestly, I think it was just an opportunity. Like I had done a few deals in healthcare, and certainly not easy. I mean, it's definitely a strange one, but I realized there's not a lot of people who do it. It's a bit of the wild, wild west. You see a lot of residential people kind of trying to do healthcare, but, I like to help. Like, I know that sounds a little cliche, like, oh, I like to help people. Then why aren't you a nurse?
Right.
We lead nurses and thank God for them. But I can't be clinical. I don't have the brain for that, to be honest with you. Science is not my thing. So, but sometimes you see physicians that sometimes might get a little bit over their skis or, I don't know. I feel like doctors sometimes can be taken advantage of. But there's more than just that. I have hospital clients too. I have all types of clients that are in healthcare, the broad range of anything that's healthcare. And candidly, the niche is just because I think it's necessary. There is a lot of nuance to it that's important. Like there's some federal regulation around healthcare real estate that makes it different than just regular real estate. So my team and I understand that. We spend a lot of time with attorneys and researching and learning about those things. So being able to help our clients avoid, we're not attorneys, so I can't say we help avoid litigation, but we know the gotchas to look out for. So I think that's important. And it's fun because, we're very clear on what we do.
Mm-hmm.
You can go into commercial real estate and say, okay, I'm a commercial real estate broker. What exactly does that mean? Do you sell golf courses? Do you sell churches?
Sure.
Do you sell industrial? Do you do a little bit of everything? One thing you had asked me before is as somebody who might be new to the business and what's something that might be important. I think having a very clearly defined niche, even if it's broad like office, well, that's broad, but it's still a niche. It's clear.
Sure.
And so my clearly defined niche is healthcare. And I can tell you basically what I do, who I represent, how I represent them, and what my guideposts are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very important. I know someone who sells churches.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty specific. So, yeah, that's why.
Okay. And so walk me through your team building process. So you said you have a team of 5
Yes.
now.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that start? And then when did you realize, okay, I need a team? And then how do you go about strategically bringing on team members and who do you need first, right? Because there's a lot of different advice out there of like, especially in the brokerage world, like who do you hire a junior broker? Do you hire an analyst? Do you hire a coordinator? Do you hire a marketing person? What was your journey like in that?
I would love to know the actual correct formula, because if you can figure that out, let me know. I don't know the actual formula. I can tell you what I did, and I'm not dead yet, so we'll see if it all works out. But the reason that we ended up with 5 is candidly, it was an accident. I mean, it was on purpose, but so let me back up. So I'm in Orlando and focusing on healthcare. Well, there's other folks in my firm that focus on healthcare. There's Cushman hired a guy in Tampa, started doing healthcare. That's all he ever did in his commercial real estate career. Then Cushman also hired a guy in South Florida. Well, of course, we all know each other because nationally, we're part of a national team. We meet once a month. We go to conferences, and but we all had our own business. So doing our own thing. And well, after a period of a few years, we kept talking. I'm like, well, guys, why don't we kind of team up? We can coordinate our marketing efforts together. We already share referrals. We already talk. We're all friends. So let's sort of be a little bit more strategic about it. And they're like, well, that's a great idea. And of course, Cushman like that too, because we can share resources. We can bring on an administrative assistant that can support all of us, because generally our business is similar, even though our geography is different.
Sure.
We're going after the same type of client. So we branded ourselves together. And we ended up with a couple of multi-market accounts that required the help of a transaction manager. So, as your independent broker doing one-off transactions, you could bring on a junior broker. And so some of my partners in the other markets are doing that. But as a blanket team, we had several multi-market accounts that on the tenant rep side. So we had to represent them in other states. And so we needed someone to kind of help facilitate that. So that person is not cold calling and you're doing one-off transactions. They're basically doing all the transactions for those accounts. So that's why we ended up bringing on another team member. We're actually maybe transitioning her into more of a brokerage role too. So that's kind of exciting. Getting her out, broadening her wings a little bit, learning to cold call and prospect. So
was that like a natural transition for her? Like, was that something that she was like, okay, I'm going to start as a coordinator and then eventually be a broker, and then like that was kind of the expectations of the ladder?
I don't know if it was the expectations. I think it's something she's interested in doing.
Sure.
And learning the business like I said before, it's important to have someone to kind of teach you the business. And this was an opportunity for her to learn absolutely doing what she's been doing.
Sure.
And now that she understands the technical side of it, I think it's given her more confidence to go out and learn how to cold call. Everybody learns differently. Some people just jump in and like, let me cold call and I'll figure out how to do it later. Some people want to know what they're doing and then go out and try to prospect. So I think that's what's happening for us.
So you mentioned, having someone to guide you and lead you, right? So like having someone above you, whether it's a senior broker or a mentor, how do you go about finding that? If you're a young broker, you're getting into the industry, how do you go about finding whether it's a senior broker and knowing which company, what market you want to focus in, who's good, who's bad, who you should follow? How does that look? Or how did it look for you?
Yeah, I mean, well, it was very different for me because mine was just an accident. I applied for a job, I got the job, and I got stuck with what I got stuck with. I got lucky though because the individual I learned from, I mean, nothing's ever perfect, right? But it's like a marriage, and you really have to realize that if you're going to partner with someone, you're either in or you're out. I mean, you could be kind of halfway in. I've seen firms hire younger brokers that are kind of free agents where they're like, okay, I could work a little bit with you and I could work a little bit with her and I could do a little bit, but then they don't really have anybody to guide them. That I don't think that works. I'm sure it has, but I personally don't like that model. I think you want to, like, if we're going to date, let's go ahead and get married. We might not stay married forever, but like I'm all in on working with you. So I'm, yes, I want to learn other ways of doing things with regards to how to behave, but it's very hard to you get diluted if you're trying to do too many things with too many different people.
Right.
I got lucky because I got hired by someone and that was the person I got stuck with, but it worked out really well. If you were going to start off more intentionally with the idea, I want to go into the business, how to find the right person. I mean, you got to find someone you gel with. Obviously, it's like dating. I always equate our business to dating.
Yeah.
That's the way
most of business, you can put some parallels.
You go on a bunch of dates and you date and kiss a bunch of frogs until you find a prince. And, sometimes a prince turns out to be a frog after all, but you don't know. Maybe following people's, LinkedIn and all of that jazz and just kind of seeing how people work. But back to the providing value. Let's just say you find a senior that you're like, this person's amazing. I want to work with them. Not all brokers are set to work with a junior. Like we're all alpha and some of them don't do well with having juniors, or they might do well, but you've got to like give them a break that they may not be nurturing.
Right.
Not that many senior brokers are nurturing. Most of them are drivers and they're like running and you got to keep up.
Right.
So provide value. Hey, I want to work with you because I really like your business and here's why. Try to be as specific as possible, even if you're wrong, but be clear. I mean, you've achieved this amount, this success, you've done this and that. And here's what I can do for you. Don't say what you can do for me. I can learn from you. Okay, great. I want someone to learn from me. I don't have time to teach you.
Sure.
What can you do for me?
Sure.
And so that's what the junior should say to this. I can do this for you. Sure. I can help free up your time. I can help bring you more business. I can help you with social media because you're old and you don't know how to do it. Yeah. But that's what I need. Stuff like that.
Sure. So I want to get into, you mentioned, you made some comments in the first episode and briefly here, but I want to get into what your journey has been like being a woman in the commercial real estate industry. For historically, it has been a male dominant industry. You know, there's a ton of males in there. You had mentioned in your first job, you know, you entered a boardroom, you were the only female in there.
Right.
And so I want to genuinely get into that conversation and get your perspective, because frankly, you're the first female that I've had on the podcast. I'm very interested in that perspective because it is a different, you know, I'm naturally curious, right? So I want to see what your perspective is, and then see how, you know, that perspective can provide value to other women who are trying to learn.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting. You know, we kind of backing up, we had talked about when at Cushman & Wakefield years ago, myself and some other folks, Wanda Riley, who runs our office now for all of Florida, which is super cool. And then some other folks at Cushman, we started this women's organization within Cushman, the Women's Integrated Network. And it was an employee resource group. I'm not as involved with it now as it was when we first got started, but the whole point was to just sort of kind of like dovetailing off of Crew, which is super, an amazing organization to be involved in. But this was just for Cushman, helping women at Cushman, not necessarily brokers, but any female that was looking for mentors and opportunities to, you know, not just like these abstract ideas, but more like one-on-one tactical, like, hey, this weird thing happened, or how do I ask a senior law partner to lunch, you know, because he's a prospect, or maybe I've got a client I'm prospecting and now the other guys are taking him to golf. How do I handle that? Like, you know, tactical stuff. So we formed an organization within Cushman to help the women. And so that was actually really cool. And I think we helped a lot of women. You know, the group is still together.
Today's episode is brought to you by Bryce Knuth of Insurance Office of America. As a contractor or real estate owner in Florida, you've likely experienced the impact of rising insurance premiums year after year. With the challenging insurance marketplace, having a specialist who focuses on your industry is critical now more than ever before. If you'd like a second set of eyes on your current insurance program or don't have a relationship with your current broker, please contact Bryce Knuth at 407-697-6944 via call or text, or email bryce.knuth@ioausa.com. Don't let rising insurance costs catch you off guard. Reach out to Bryce today. Can you point some of those tactical advice for some of those things?
Yeah. So let me just think for a second. One thing that this might not sound, take it for what it's worth. So one of the things that we all know about women, and that we all kind of go back and forth on this, is how emotional women are, right? I mean, that, you know, you go, oh God, there's a girl crying. I've seen that.
And guys are like, I don't know what to do.
I mean, I've actually cried, but I was in the bathroom when it happened.
Yeah.
I was like, I got something in my eye, you know? But, you know, women react differently. You know, sometimes men will yell and throw things, and women do too. But we're biologically different, obviously. And so the way we react to stress is different. I think, you know, I read this book. It's going to sound really hokey. There's a book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Yeah. Have you ever read that?
I've never read it, but I've heard about
it. I mean, again, I'm sounding hokey, but I swear to God, it's true.
Yeah.
And they talk about how, you know, men go into caves when they have problems because they like to be alone and solve their problems. Women get together in groups and talk about it. I mean, maybe I'm just like, whatever, but I find that to be true.
Sure.
When I'm stressed out, I got to talk about it. Sure. And I'm calling my girlfriends, you know, and I call my husband, but he's like, I don't want to hear it. Like, go to your cave.
Well, y'all are processors, right?
Yes. And I'm very much an external processor. Sure. And again, I'm being, you know, broad. Like, obviously, everybody's different. You can't say that all women are like this. Sure. There are a lot of men that'll talk about it. But the majority of men, I think, at least what I've seen, they go into their cave. They go drink beer with their friends, go play golf, do whatever, or stay alone. They don't want to talk about their feelings.
Right.
We'll
stay alone or go play golf and not talk about it.
And not talk, right.
And then we'll leave golf and we'll be like, I figured it out.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. I mean, you're not alone necessarily, but you're not like, oh, bro, guess what? Like this happened.
Right.
You know me? I'm like, oh, I got to talk about it. So, you know, that is the way we process stuff. But now, can I do that in the office full of guys? That's a little hard to do. Sure. I try, or I used to. I don't do that anymore. But, you know, you do kind of find your niches. I mean, guys will talk to you. I think it's about how you approach it. If you kind of, you know, your tone of voice. You know, when you talk in a really high, stressed out voice, that freaks people out.
Right.
You know, guys like, oh my God, I'm mad. You know, they think my wife is mad at me.
Right.
You know, don't do that. But I definitely think finding your safe place if you need to vent or you need to cry. Guys are fixers.
Mm-hmm.
They want to fix your problem. So if you don't need your problem fixed, don't go to a guy. But thank God that they are like that, because when in the business, when I need a problem fixed, I go to a guy. Hey, I can't figure out how to use this formula on the spreadsheet. Or, hey, I got, this complicated analysis and I'm not sure, like, can you just help me think through it? Men and women, are good about that. And I love finding the people that'll help me because I'll give it back. Everybody loves to help. I don't know if that kind of gets too much into the difference between men and women. But I do think keeping the emotions in check is important.
Yeah. So let's talk about the one point, like how has your experience because you've built a great business, you've built a great name for yourself, you've been very successful, and how has that transition kind of happened? And then as a woman, how did you manage that and continue to build that? Obviously, Crew has made a big impact for you,
Yes.
being surrounded by like-minded individuals, other women who are trying to do the same thing. What are some other things that kind of you experienced along that journey?
Men like working with women. I think men can be scared of them. I mean, sometimes at men time you feel like the man's giving you the cold shoulder or something. I think they just don't know how to act around you. Let them feel, like, look, all right, I'm one of you. I mean, I might not be you and it's okay. You want to set boundaries, but like, I let things roll off my back a lot. Yes, I still like things bother me, but I don't show it. And I'm learning that we're all like just trying to get through,
Right.
and everybody processes things differently. So if a guy makes an inappropriate comment, whatever, it doesn't bother me. I'm not going to go run and report it to HR.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that we should put up with abuse.
Sure.
I'm not saying that, but this is a very stressful business as a broker, and everybody blows off steam differently. And if a guy is being extremely aggressive or extremely advanced on you for what, do you know what I mean? Obviously you have to have boundaries, but if it's like the guys are joking in the hallway and they're talking about a girl, or so what? Right. Like I got other things. If am I offended by it, I leave. Sure. Instead of freak out by it, or let it bother me. Don't let it take up space in my head. I got other things to worry about. But I find that clients like working with women. In fact, I have a lot of female clients. I have a lot of women clients, but a lot of the senior brokers that I've worked with over the years. In fact, I chatted with a guy, very successful broker at Cushman in New York, and he refers a lot of business out. And he said to me, I prefer to refer my business to a woman because they're going to take direction a little bit better. Women have ego, but it doesn't come across quite the same as if he says, I want this deal done this way. Usually the women are, okay, I'm listening to you. Well, I got it. Sometimes the men are like that. Yeah. Again, not always, but many times I know how to do this. Yeah. So I find it to be successful. Look, to be honest, and maybe this sounds bad and I might get a lot of like negativity by saying this, but know your audience. Like if I got a guy who's a good old boy and I'm going out cold calling, I might wear a skirt that day.
Right.
But obviously there's within guidelines. Like you got to realize we are different and not trying to make it the same.
Sure. No, that's good advice. And like I said, I know personally a lot of, especially in this industry, successful women who've been very good at what they do. And I'm one of those people too. Like, you guys are, as women, are doers, and especially in the industry, like I feel oftentimes more confident to like refer out.
We're going to get things done, right?
Just because I know it's going to get handled.
Yeah.
Whereas like, it might slip through the cracks. The guy might be golfing. He might be doing something else. And it's like, for us, the nonprofit that we run, most of our team is women, because although, you still got to balance all the personalities just as, any team would. I know that things are going to get done. And so there's a lot of value in that. And so, I admire that and, admire,
well,
your success. That's
good. Well, one of the things I struggle with a bit as being a female, and this is, and I always try to learn from my male counterparts, is I have a tendency to overthink things. I always joke that, my husband tells me I overthink. I'm like, I call it thinking.
Yeah.
It's just thinking, not overthinking, just how I think. But he's right. I do have a tendency I think deeply about things. And I mean, at some point you don't want to just make snap decisions. but it can be a hindrance to me. Being able to make decisions quickly is a benefit in this business because you got to keep going.
Sure.
So I always try to balance that. And I look at some of the men that are, all right, they make decisions like, how can I be a little more like that?
Right. I think a lot of men are, I kind of get my wife, you know, makes comments because I'm like, it's going to be okay.
Oh,
right.
Those are fighting words.
Right?
Yeah. The other fighting word is just breathe.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
Right. Well, I think it's for me at least, it's a tactical, strategy of like, okay, clearing my mind so that whenever I do have to make a decision, that I have a clear mind when I make that decision. I can make that decision quicker. And it's not like analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Where it's like you're thinking about everything that's going to go wrong. You're thinking it's okay.
Yeah.
What information do I have now? Make a decision. Kind of just 1-2 step. My mom, like I told you, my mom's a psychologist. And so, men are very A to B, B to C, C to D,
right,
kind of thinkers.
Yes.
And so you kind of got to manage that as we go.
There's a meme I saw. I think it was a meme or maybe, I don't know. It was like the box idea where like the guy can only do one thing at a time where the girl's trying to do everything.
The yarn. Was it the yarn video?
It might be. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But we try to, and it drives my husband bananas that I like do this. I don't go from A to B. I go from A to like Y, and then I come back to B, and then I go to like L, and I'm all over the place. So, and it's like, if I'm working on a project, I got stuff everywhere, but at the end, it all comes together.
Sure.
But it's like a whole bunch of things come together, not just like, I don't finish something right away. I wish I was more linear.
Right. Well, I think, again, there's no right or wrong. It's just the difference in how we think.
Well, that's it. Exactly. I think you got to accept who you are and how you think and be okay with it instead of constantly battling yourself.
Right. And just you learn from it and you figure out how to make success out of it. Because I think men are more compartmentalizing, right?
Yes,
so I look at it like boxes. Like you've got your work box, you've got your friend box, you've got
my boxes all blend together.
Yeah. You got one box.
I got one box. It's called life.
Right.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
So that's it. So I want to wrap up. So we're going to go into some rapid fire questions. We talked about a lot. We'll keep these short, simple, to the point. What's something that most people don't know about you?
I hosted a TV show for a long time. You know that about me, though. But yeah, I hosted a TV show for a long time, and I have a tattoo.
Okay. When are you the most productive?
Ideally in the morning. Yeah, my brain works the best in the morning.
Same. I'm not a night owl at all.
Oh, I'm not a morning person. I'm trying to be, but I know that like I should be because it works best for my head.
What or who is your inspiration?
I saw that list on your questions, Branson, and I don't know. That's a really hard one. I don't know. I would say, a lot of the folks in my office, all the brokers that I've worked with. I don't have anybody specifically that I want to name or can name, but yeah.
What's something new happening in your life?
Travel. 2024. I've been doing a lot of construction. We built a house. So 2024, I'm going to travel. That's it. Hook or crook.
What advice would you give your younger self?
My advice to my younger self would be let go of perfection. My brother has this quote, and it's from somebody famous, I think. I don't know if it was Abraham Lincoln, but don't let the perfect get in the way of the good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need to say that ever since I was born.
Yeah. What scares you?
People's inability to focus, people's inability to get along. Like, people don't talk. Mm-hmm. They just text.
Yeah.
Like
that communication barrier is not.
Oh, I call someone. They're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a phone call.
Right.
I don't know if the younger generation, I don't have kids, so I don't know, but I've heard from parents and clients that do that kids are not having the same social skills.
Sure.
So that is kind of scary.
Yeah. What does success look like for you?
I think success is having the freedom to do what you want. If I want to take off and travel in 2024, mm-hmm. Also having some clarity, on what you're doing, knowing what you want.
Right. If you had to describe yourself in 5 words, what would it be?
Curious, perhaps restless. 5 words. Oh my gosh. Okay. Curious, restless. What would I say? Adventuresome. Definitely adventuresome. That's only 3. I don't know.
You can circle back on
Yeah. I think I wrote that down, but I got to look at my notes.
If you could ask or tell God anything, what would it be?
Oh, that was a good question. I like that one. So that would be, how can I help?
That's a good question.
Yeah. How can I help?
I think that speaks to your curiosity character trait too.
Well, I mean, we all want to help, but like, you don't know how. Or, I mean, yeah, I guess we could all go to a soup kitchen. Okay,
Right.
cool. Is that really what, I mean, great. If God came down and said, go to a soup kitchen, all right.
Sure.
But we don't have the clarity around it.
Right.
So you don't really know what you need to do. So you just kind of have to trust your instincts and hope you're helping and try and hope your intentions are good or have good intentions.
Sure.
Yeah.
You want to leave our audience with anything before we shut off?
Oh, yeah. Never give up. I mean, and your goals can change, your desires can change over the years. I mean, I've had lots of different like jobs and careers, or things that I've wanted to do, that is. But things get hard. I did an Ironman. And so the one thing that I learned from the Ironman, that was a long time ago, and I was not very fast. But the one thing that I learned from that is it doesn't matter how hard, unless you like lose a leg or something. And even then, just keep going. I know a guy that has no legs and one arm, and he never gives up. He just goes.
Yeah.
And so when things get hard, you can figure it out. Like humans are resilient.
Yes. That is something that is very interesting to me. I mean, just human nature, human psychology, and our ability to learn, grow just naturally, just from just life and life obstacles and life challenges and things like that. So it's definitely something that I'm very curious about.
Well, tenacity. Yeah. Just keep going.
Yeah.
And then one day you'll be dead, and then you won't have to worry about it anymore. But until then, just go.
Yeah.
It's good.
All right, Ann. Well,
Thanks,
I appreciate
Branson.
you coming on. Beyond the Blueprint, this has been episode 2 with Ann Spencer at Cushman Wakefield. Again, this is our last episode of this season. Thank you so much for joining us on our season 1. Make sure you stay tuned on season 2. I'm your host, Branson Bowen, and I'll see you next time.